great. You would have brainless one yourself before the show even started.
Horrible would have happened if I had actually fallen in the chair. And that would have been an act of God.
Sad.
Anyway, welcome to episode 179 of the F and Marks podcast.
I'm Jay.
And I was, and always will be the brainless one.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
I always appreciate y'all checking in and everything. A lot of good stuff to get to this week. We have the overview from NXT TakeOver in your house. We also have predictions for tomorrow night's Backlash pay-per-view as they keep dubbing the greatest wrestling match ever that's going to be taking place between Edge and Randy Orton. A lot of people have actually been chiming in about the fact that this is being dubbed the greatest wrestling match ever. And there was something that came out from some of that backlash from people that I actually wanted to ask you and ask you your opinion on that whole
It's
situation.
even got some backlash, quite literally, from one of the persons in said match.
Yeah. So, and I mean, and then we had we crowned a new Intercontinental Champion last night on SmackDown. And I'll tell you, it's not very often that we get nominations for separate.
What's up, Jessica? Thanks for tuning in.
What's up, Jessica? It's not very often that we get back-to-back nominees for marquee awards,
right?
And back-to-back weeks. So it's actually kind of a cool thing that we actually have for a different award come from last night. Some big news coming out of WWE in regards to the actual production aspect of WWE.
Yeah.
A bunch of other shit, some heel turn and some other news and notes of professional wrestling and everything. And yeah. So I'd say
what's up, Dave?
Let's get cracking on this. So I think we go right into NXT TakeOver overview.
All right.
So last Sunday, and I know that's
Sunday.
I know it's hard for people to quite comprehend that NXT TakeOver was on Sunday, but nevertheless, it was on Sunday. Pretty solid show, to say the least.
I mean, it's TakeOver. They don't mess those up.
Quite a few good matches on there. Some interesting matches that were also on the card. Some surprise finishes, to say the least. We did have a title change, but it was not in the aspect or the realm of what we thought was going to be a title change. So let's get into the show. We led off with the 6 women's tag match, which was between Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and for the life of me, I can't remember what the girl who was with
Raquel
Gonzalez going up against the team of Mia Yim and Tegan Knox, and it was Blackheart.
Shotzi Blackheart.
I like Shotzi Blackheart.
Yeah.
I might forget her name. Give it a couple weeks, and I'll probably have it engraved in the back of my brain. But Shotzi Blackheart is definitely somebody. She had a very unique look to her. The green and black hair was something, covered in tattoos. But watching her in the ring was actually rather, it was good. She was a very good in-ring performer. The match told a really good story. I mean, there was a lot of bad blood between quite a few of the women that were in this match. Solid match, considering the fact that Mia Yim was actually in the match. And no surprise, the faces went over in the match.
I was a little surprised the faces went over. I thought with what they had been doing with Candice LeRae that they were going to give her some victory here, have her get a pin. But, they had the faces go over and, not too terribly bad match. And, pretty good way to start off the show.
Yes.
So,
And like I've said, even like the worst match on the card for NXT TakeOvers is still better than typically half to 2/3 of the card that happens on a regular WWE pay-per-view. So there was that.
Yeah.
And even that match, even to the point where I had especially because of the whole Mia Yim factor, and I'm kind of on board now with the whole Mia Yim couldn't wrestle to save her life type of deal. Luckily we will never see her in hopefully we'll never see her and Nia Jax in the ring together, but we never know.
Yeah. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, make sure you give a like, share, and let everybody know about it. We appreciate everybody who tunes in every week. We are the FN Marks, and make sure you like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube and Periscope at the FN Marks, the FN Marks.
If you like, follow, and subscribe to us, we will like, follow, and subscribe to you back. That has always been our motto.
And make sure, if you're on the Wrestling Marks page checking us out right now, that you set up notifications for when we go live so you could join in with the discussion.
Yes. And that is facebook.com/WrestleMarks.
Yeah. So, all right. So then we had Damian Priest going against Finn Balor.
For me, that was match of the night. They put on one hell of a fight. Very entertaining. Damian Priest, I'm telling you right now, is a star. They have an absolute star in the making in this dude. From what I've gathered, from what I've watched and everything from him this Sunday, he looks really good.
Yeah.
Not to discount what Finn Balor was to the match, because obviously everybody knows that Finn Balor is a tremendous in-ring performer. But just Damian Priest, he's got the look, he's got the charisma, he's actually a pretty solid wrestler.
That bump he took, holy
when he got knocked onto the stairs, right?
Yes.
Yes, that was pretty impressive.
Shit.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for him for doing that, and part of it was trusting Balor, but also it was putting his body on the line. And it's like, going, hey man, it's all to entertain us, and like a heck of a match between these two. Had Balor go over with this match, and that was setting up for something that happened on NXT later in the week that we'll get into.
Mm-hmm.
But that heck of a show, like one of the perfect combination of like some technical stuff and being hard hitting at the same time. I love matches like that.
Same, I do too. And it was just a good combination. They put up a hell of a show between the two of them. And like I said, Damian Priest is going to be a star for WWE. Whether he continues to do it down in NXT or once he eventually gets up to the main roster. That dude is a star. I would have liked to have seen him still be Punishment Martinez, but I get why they didn't do that. So,
yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning in from Australia, man. That's awesome.
Woo!
Yeah.
The land down under.
Yeah. They probably get that a whole bunch.
I'm sure they do.
So, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
So, we had Johnny Gargano going against Keith Lee for the North American title.
Another solid match in the card. Just very different in styles between the two wrestlers. Keith Lee,
very differing size too.
Yeah, very differing size. Keith Lee, a dude who has definitely climbed up and gotten higher on my pedestal of people that I enjoy watching on NXT. He's a dude that, for a guy his size, can move. He does things that a lot of people can't do. Speaking
of which, during this match, the plexiglass spot, he moved awful fast, and then Gargano put his body on the line and just got absolutely pummeled through the plexiglass.
Yeah.
All because Keith Lee could move like a deer, and Johnny Gargano's 1/3 of his size.
Keith Lee reminds me a lot of like Mark Henry with the speed of Kofi Kingston.
Okay. Hey, I like that.
That's a hell of a combination right there too.
Jen from Maine tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, Jen. We're New Englanders too. We moved down to Virginia a bit ago, but yeah, we both grew up in Connecticut, so yeah.
Bristol to be exact.
Where's the Nia fans at? This guy right here is a big Nia fan. Yeah. Chris Brown saying, keep Keith Lee the hell away from Bruce Pritchard. I love you. But Keith Lee, Johnny Gargano, hell of a match. And Gargano, for the most part, like, he kind of dominated this match. He had most of the offense, and then, at the end, Keith Lee ends up overcoming and getting the pin here. So,
yeah, it seems like a lot of people are in agreement that keep Keith Lee away from Bruce Pritchard. I must be missing something in that situation. Why does Keith Lee need to stay away from Bruce Pritchard?
Bruce Pritchard's the head of creative now for WWE.
Yes, I do know that. Yes.
Bruce Pritchard's going to screw up Keith Lee. That's what he's saying.
Oh, well, I always think that Vince McMahon's going to screw up everybody and anybody, unless it's Roman Reigns or John Cena.
Brock Lesnar.
Or Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Or Triple H. Or Hulk Hogan.
Nia Jax or New Jax.
Apple Jacks.
Both are just as dangerous in the ring.
I think I'd rather take my chances with New Jack in the ring.
He might stab you.
Still would rather take my chances.
Okay.
I think I have a much more high of a chance of getting killed if I got in the ring with Nia Jax instead of New Jack.
All right.
With a box of Apple Jacks. Lame Jacks.
But Lee and Gargano put on a heck of a show here for the North American title, keeping the title on Keith Lee for the time being, and they did begin setting up his next feud on Wednesday, and we will get into that.
Yes.
So to me, the most shocking match of the night was Karrion Kross going against Tommaso Ciampa. I was expecting a fun, good, hard-hitting affair, and we got a squash match.
It's just a hair over being a squash match.
Yeah.
The match lasted only 7 minutes, and I had a feeling that they were going to do something like that with Karrion Kross because this was his debut. They're super high on this dude. He was a big, hot free agent. It was basically between him and Lance Archer of who was going to be the top free agent, and obviously one went to AEW, and the other one went to NXT.
Yeah.
And I'm 100% sold on Karrion Kross. He's definitely got the look himself. He is an absolute specimen.
And having Scarlett with him.
Oh, that's just an added bonus to have a beautiful woman attached to you the way that Karrion Kross has. He's got, I mean, you know me, it's all about presentation. That man's got a fantastic freaking entrance. He's just a total package. That guy is another guy who I think is going to be an absolute star. The sky is the limit for Karrion Kross, and just his performance against Tommaso Ciampa, a former NXT champion, a former NXT Tag Team champion, a guy who has been in matches, just incredible matches over the years. I thought it was good what they did.
I think it establishes him as a monster, beating so handily a former champion. But on top of that, like, there was a bump Ciampa took with his injury history. I was like, dude, what are you doing? He took it was almost like a buckle bomb, except for into the ring apron, like almost right on his neck. It's like, dude, how long do you want to last in this business? Because you keep doing that, you're going to mess up your neck worse. And speaking of Ciampa, there was a little bit of a Twitter feud, whether or not it was a work or a shoot, we don't know. Based off of right now, it seems like it's a shoot.
It's a legitimate thing. Like, they're actually going back and forth because I guess a while back, WWE management has told the NXT and the WWE rosters to not have feuds with each other because people are going to think that it's going to lead to a match, and that's not the case. If they give you the green light to start going after people on either the main roster or NXT, then it's going to lead to something. But if they don't sign off on it, then don't do it. And because of the fact that Ciampa and Randy Orton did that, it really pissed off Vince McMahon. Like, I really give a fuck what Vince McMahon thinks or says. Vince McMahon can still kiss my fucking ass. He's lucky he gets my $10 a month.
Well, why don't you explain what happened?
Well, basically is from what
For
I've
those
gathered,
who don't know.
From what I've gathered is that it was just a feud that was going on between Tommaso Ciampa and Randy Orton. And I remember one of the tweets specifically was Tommaso Ciampa was talking about how his daughter was having trouble sleeping, so he put one of Randy Orton's matches on, and she fell asleep to it. And basically, Randy Orton called out Tommaso Ciampa for being the head of the NXT locker room, and like, it's really sad that you're the head of the locker room type of deal.
So it goes back even further than this. A couple of years ago, I think it was during a takeover. I forgot what match it was that Ciampa had. Might have been Gargano. But he did the draped legs on the ropes, or I think it was on the announce table, the draped legs, and then he gave a DDT onto the concrete, or onto at least the padding. And I remember Goldust at the time, put like, "Hey, Orton, did you see this?" And like, Orton was like, "Very interesting. I'm going to have to talk to some people about this." And I think from there's been a little bit of a thing between them. And then last year at the Survivor Series, actually did have a moment where they were like together in the match. And, you know, didn't seem like there was anything, there didn't seem to be animosity, or at least it seemed like there was professional courtesy within the match. They didn't do anything to hurt each other, but, you know, obviously it seems obvious that they kind of don't like each other. Orton, being the veteran, I think feels like he's not being completely respected, but Orton came out and said something about, like, you know, when wrestlers do spots to make it sound better, they will, you know, slap their leg.
Yeah.
And he kept on, he was like,
slapping.
Yeah. So he mentioned something about that. And then Ciampa came back with something about how, you know, we had a lot of people working their tails off tonight. You know, you should respect that. And then all the stuff you talked about happened. And
I know that a lot of, because like, it's especially in the wrestling industry, this industry has been going on for what, over 100 years at this point, and between all the wrestling promotions throughout the world, whether it's in Japan or Mexico or the United States or Canada or Europe or wherever, you know, there's a lot of different wrestling organizations, and a lot of these organizations have been going on for years. At some point, you're going to come across people who are going to be not really copying, but other people who are going to be using moves that other people use. I mean, look at Ric Flair. I mean, Ric Flair was not the originator of the figure four leg lock. Wasn't that Buddy Landell? Or Buddy Rogers, I mean.
But there were many people before Flair to use the figure four leg lock. But he was the one who, you know, made it transcend.
I mean, I know Greg the Hammer Valentine was somebody who used the
what's up, Mon Seth?
The figure four and everything. And I guess, like, the thing now is that if you go to use somebody's move, and it's like somebody's signature move, a move they've done, you go and you ask that person,
especially if they're still active.
Especially if they're still active, or if they're in a class like with a Ric Flair or, you know, something like that.
Like Kevin Owens went to Stone Cold Steve Austin and said, "Hey, can I use the stunner?" Yes. And Austin's like, "Yeah, but just make sure it's a finishing move."
And the same thing with Seth Rollins. He asked Triple H if he could use the pedigree. And obviously
with the storyline.
And Bray Wyatt actually went to Mick Foley and asked him if he could start using the mandible claw. And, of course, Mick Foley, being who Mick Foley is, 100% gave the green light on that. And,
but it appears Tommaso Ciampa never got the green light from Randy Orton to use the leg drape DDT. Yeah. But it definitely seemed that their animosity is still there. And as Chris pointed out, Randy Orton just doesn't give a fuck.
I guess my only thing is, or my really question for this is, did Kenta at least ask CM Punk if he could use the go to sleep? Do you think Kenta asked Daniel Bryan if he could use the knee that beat Cena? What else did Kenta do? What was the other move that Kenta stole from somebody else?
He stole everything.
Did Kenta steal the gimmick from? Did he ask Triple H before he stole the gimmick of getting hurt for everything?
I don't know. Maybe so. But Alden, completely agree. Vince will work until he's dead. Hunter is not taking over anytime soon. Vince's mom is still alive, and she's 99.
But she's not alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. Though.
No, there's one man that's alive.
Too bad Tommy's not here to.
Yeah,
share his favorite moment of the podcast.
You know, Monsef, it's possible that it's part of a storyline, but this definitely does. This one does not feel like it's a storyline.
I think it has a lot, and I'll tell you, this definitely has a feel to it, like it isn't a storyline. And I know that the reason that behind all this is because of the whole Matt Riddle, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar situation, where Matt Riddle was going out on social media and talking shit to Goldberg and Brock Lesnar and pissing both of them off because. You know, Matt Riddle wants to fight Brock Lesnar. And hell, I would love to see Brock Lesnar and Matt Riddle go. I know you would like to see Matt Riddle and Brock Lesnar go.
Yeah.
But that kind of just squashed any opportunity for NXT and main roster people for just just going at each other for whatever reason.
So one thing that is happening right now is NXT Weekly is losing to AEW in the ratings. Apparently, Vince McMahon is not happy about this, and very soon is going to start sending quote-unquote main roster guys down to NXT to help boost the ratings. So I guess it's possible that we could see Randy Orton on NXT just like we saw Charlotte Flair on NXT.
That's such horse shit.
Well, he's ratings crazy. Why do you think the thing that? What do you think Paul Heyman getting fired was? Because he's like sitting there like going, I want ratings now. Paul Heyman's like, I want to build these people slow. I want ratings now. I want to build these people slow. And because the coronavirus and causing the ratings to dip even further, basically he's putting the blame on fucking Paul Heyman for the ratings going down. And it's like going, no, there are many other factors. It's not this one person. Put on a better show.
I would say that I think it's bullshit. This is why I think it's bullshit. It's the fact that Vince McMahon put up his NXT show, or his NXT show was the show that's going up against AEW. AEW is Dynamite is the cornerstone show of the brand, still kind of new AEW. So they're putting up AEW against NXT. It's not like they're putting AEW up against Monday Night Raw. And, Raw would be kicking its ass. Or if it was going up against SmackDown, because SmackDown would be kicking its ass. The fact that the third show, in Vince's mind, although a lot of fans would say that NXT is the premier show of the three shows, I'll tell you,
it's the most watchable show.
It's definitely the most watchable show. And I just think that the comparison between those two shows is like apples to oranges. It's like you're going up against AEW's number one show, and you're putting what you consider your C show against AEW Dynamite.
Well, you talk all the time about how Vince McMahon's all about the money. NXT went to USA specifically because of the money, and he wanted to compete against AEW. It's like going, well, Vince, you caused AEW to happen.
Yep.
Your poor management of Cody Rhodes, you letting Chris Jericho go to AEW, almost telling him to go to AEW, and other factors like that, and not realizing, hey, there are more things out there that people like outside of just the brand of wrestling you want. Yep. As we've discussed many times, vanilla is the highest selling brand of ice cream in the world. Everybody's kind of okay with vanilla. But guess what? I like Cherry Garcia.
I like chocolate chip cookie dough.
So as much as vanilla is fine and does the job, to me, it's not the greatest thing in the world. Like I kind of prefer like more of the harder hitting, like European style, more than anything. So NXT UK is more my cup of tea. New Japan's more my cup of tea. But AEW is like a mix of like all over the world, and they let each performer kind of have their own distinct thing. Yep. So they are not compete in their view. They're not competing against WWE. They are an alternative to WWE. And NXT, as far as wrestling goes, outstanding show. Yeah. But AEW is a different type of storytelling, a different type of brand. So you can't really. They're going against each other, but hey, you know what? That's what happens in a war.
I still think that it's not really much of concern for Vince McMahon. Yes, I get the fact that they got the money from USA. They also got a shit ton of money from Fox for SmackDown, and SmackDown really hasn't lived up to the hype. And SmackDown is, in my opinion, the better show between that and Raw. Raw is just an absolute fucking dumpster fire.
I think you're going to enjoy that comment right there, Cousin Bobby. Who is the greatest wrestler in AEW, and why is it Orange Cassidy?
Because it is Orange Cassidy. It's because Orange Cassidy is, and I'll tell you right now, Orange Cassidy. First of all, hold on. What's up, Tommy?
F and Mark's Hall of Famer, Tommy.
I'm going to say this. I was watching a lot of Orange Cassidy's matches, and I'll tell you, I did a complete 180 on the dude in about a year. Because I saw him at last year's Double or Nothing, and he was in the Casino Battle Royale. And it's a dude that's actually wrestling with his hands in his pockets, and like the kicks he was doing, the Tommy Dreamer, were freaking stupid. And just that whole shtick was just like, I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Then he gets in the ring with Pac. And it's like, okay, this dude could actually fucking wrestle. And then I started to go into and watching more of what Orange Cassidy was. And I've actually done a little bit more research, and I realized that Orange Cassidy was doing this just to kind of stick out because he didn't want to be just another wrestler who could just wrestle and not and just not get kind of lost in the shuffle. So he just kind of came up with the Orange Cassidy character. So that's why he did what he did.
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy is definitely a guy. He's right now he is actually my favorite wrestler in AEW.
Okay.
He is my favorite.
Beautiful.
So,
all right. So circling all the way back, I mean, we started on Tomaso Ciampa and carrying across.
I ended up on Orange Cassidy for some weird reason.
And we'll talk about how he got beat to a pulp, like quite literally on AEW.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. I think you would enjoy the write-up I had for the show today, too. I put in the headline, I bet Sheamus is pissed about the contract signing from last night. Yeah, it was great. Anyway.
I'm sure your mother would have loved that joke, too.
If she knew the context, yes. All right, then we had a match for the NXT title between the Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole, baby!
In a backlot brawl.
In this match, shot cinematic style, and one of the stipulations for this match was if Velveteen Dream lost, he would get no more chances
at the NXT Championship as long as
Adam Cole, baby,
was champion.
Yes. So,
and a lot of people were thinking that it was either going to lead to the Velveteen Dream getting called up if he lost, or if it meant that if Adam Cole lost, they were going to move him up to the main roster. There was just a lot of people talking. I really thought that this was going to be the Velveteen Dream's chance and opportunity because this was his best chance to do it. I like the concept of what they did with the backlot brawl. You know, Adam Cole rolling up in the freaking monster truck was freaking badass. Velveteen Dream showing up in the I don't remember what kind of it was it was a nice, expensive ass car that he rolled up to the fight in.
But they had an entertaining match. Like, I mean, I always like the brawls. I mean, it wasn't completely the same, but it harkened back to one of my favorites,
William Regal and Fit Finlay back in WCW.
Yes, they beat the holy hell out of each other. It was fantastic.
One of the things I wanted to take away from that fight was the fact that they basically beat the shit out of like a Geo Prism, like a 98 Geo Prism. Yeah. It's like you have all these cars here, and it's like, so you just take out your aggressions on the 98 Geo? Like, what the fuck did the Geo do to you?
Hell yeah, it's a Geo, man.
Like a 2002 like Honda Accord, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, Adam Cole rolls up in like this expensive ass freaking monster truck, and Velveteen Dream basically shows up in like a freaking Ferrari or a freaking Maserati or whatever the hell it was, and it's like, and then we're gonna beat up a 98 Geo Prism.
That's what it's there for, man.
Yeah. Because people are still driving those to this day.
I saw. I think I saw a Geo Tractor like 3 months ago.
Damn.
Yeah. So
they stopped making those.
I know. A long time ago.
So my dad drove one of those when he was still living in the States.
Yeah. Well, he's living in a state right now.
State of uncertainty.
Yeah. All right. So Adam Cole, baby, won the match. So no more title shot for Velveteen Dream, but Dexter Lumis got a bit involved here, threw Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish into the back of a car, or like the trunk of a car, and like drove off, so they couldn't, continue to do some hijinks in the match, and like it again that ends up leading to something for NXT this week, but like. Stupid little things like that make me smile when it comes to wrestling, where it's like you hijack somebody. Like they were doing bad things, so you throw them in the back of the car and all right, we even the odds.
I love Dexter Lumis. He's just a very interesting looking dude and all that stuff. So
Monsef, a little bit like the Gold Dust versus Roddy Piper in WrestleMania 12, one of my favorite matches ever.
One of my favorite moments ever.
Yeah, that whole thing was just fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
But Adam Cole retains and keeps his longest reigning NXT championship streak going.
Yeah.
and we'll see how long he keeps it. Hey, you know what? Adam Cole's a GOAT.
Yes, he is. Slays on the back wall behind Vader.
That's right.
And not F and Mark's Hall of Famer Vader. It should be F and Mark's Hall of Famer Darth Vader.
Right.
But
yeah. So main event was the women's triple threat match for the NXT title. And I love Io Shirai. I was not expecting her to win this. I thought she was here to take the pin.
That was definitely the biggest surprise of the
I'm freaking psyched that she won. You know what?
Me too.
She is a heck of a performer. Like when she came in, she was just a regular old baby face, and then when she came back is like a heel, completely changed her look. She's changed her look again. She's a badass in the ring. I love her. I love her. She is a phenomenal performer, and I'm glad they gave her this shot. I know Triple H is very high on her.
Very high on her. And of course,
apparently.
And of course, Rhea Ripley was the one that actually ate the pinfall in the match, so they could basically set up for something between Io Shirai and Charlotte Flair down the road, which is actually something I actually wrote on the board, but we'll get into in a little bit of the podcast. And I wanted to pitch that question to you, but congratulations to Io Shirai. Well deserved of her winning the NXT Women's Championship.
Well, and I thought it was cool how they ended this match, how Charlotte had the figure eight on Rhea Ripley, and Shirai does the moonsault onto her and ends up pinning her, and Charlotte was trying to hook herself from the figure eight to try to stop from losing her title, but couldn't get it unhooked in time. I thought that was a cool and unique finish. And another one of my favorite moments from the night was when Io Shirai did the dive off the top of the damn house.
Yes.
That was fantastic. I love when they use like the props like that, and just they did a good job of utilizing the props they had and the fact that, hey, there are no fans here, so let's do what we can with what we have around us. It was fantastic.
Agreed.
So
one more take I wanted to take from NXT TakeOver with Finn Balor's victory over Damian Priest. Finn Balor now has the most wins of any wrestler at NXT TakeOver.
It's either 11 or 12, I think.
It was
very impressive.
A very impressive statistic, and a guy who deserves to have that moniker. I'm still waiting for the Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano match. I mean, we've been waiting, and it just hasn't worked out. And obviously now with everything that's moving forward, we're not getting that match anytime soon.
Right. So we probably should go to NXT for this week and just go over it quickly. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we saw this match based off of the fallout from TakeOver. We got it again. Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae going against Keith Lee and Mia Yim. So, LeRae and Gargano go over, and Gargano actually pinned Keith Lee.
A roll-up.
And, they've been building Keith Lee, and, at least it wasn't a singles match, non-title match victory, but it's like, you just had him win, and now you had him lose, but it is what it is, and I think they're trying to keep both storylines going at least a little bit, but it was an entertaining enough match. Got a bunch of professionals here who know what they're doing. Well, sometimes Mia Yim doesn't know what she's doing. But yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Brainless one.
It was another week at work. It was very tiring and wore me out. But I'm here doing the podcast.
That's what she said.
Drinking my Monster.
That's what she said.
Yes.
So one new team that was on NXT this week, we had, I think they're called Indes Sheer. I don't know if I'm
sounds about right.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I really love the look of these guys. They're a couple of big dudes. They got the face paint on, and they're managed or how did I forget what he described himself as, business partner Malcolm Bivens
Malcolm Bivens. I like that guy.
and for Rinku and Sarov. And they're like, one of them 6'4" and like 275, and the other one's like 6'8" and 320. It's kind of like the Authors of Pain, except for they're the Indian version of them.
Right.
But these guys look like badasses, and they came off looking like badasses. And, you know, I do enjoy seeing like large teams. Back in the day, I love seeing like the Twin Towers or the Skyscrapers or
The natural disasters.
I like, you know, teams that.
And X and Smash were not small dudes.
No, they were both like 285 or so.
Yeah.
300. I enjoyed seeing, you know, big teams. I love the current wrestlers that are smaller and more athletic, but I do enjoy seeing like
massive teams.
Yes, and I don't think they should be all over the place, but you know, they're a good fit for this, and I like seeing them. I like seeing what they did in this match with them. Hopefully, this is you know, just another team that could be added to this very deep roster of great tag teams.
Because they're not in the main roster.
So yeah.
They're definitely a very polarizing tag team. They are definitely dudes. And I think if they can get booked the proper way, and God only knows with Vince McMahon, that's anything, it's probably not going to happen. But
all right, Jessica says, speaking of Charlotte, did you guys see the petition going around asking to have Charlotte not get any more titles?
No, but I saw the one where they had a petition going for Andrade to impregnate Charlotte. Because Charlotte came out earlier this week and did an interview saying that if she had the opportunity to have children, that she would actually do the same thing as Becky and stop wrestling and become a mother.
Although she kind of said, like, it's not something she's looking to right now, but sometimes, you know, somebody could get back past the goal.
I'm just telling you right now that there's quite a few people who have a chance to win the Markout Award for Wrestler of the Year. Andrade could cement himself if he impregnates Charlotte before the end of December.
I mean, excuse me. It's not like we see Charlotte enough on TV. I mean, she's not on every show. She's not on every pay-per-view. She is not having not one, but not two matches on Monday Night Raw. She is not beating the Raw Women's Champion in a non-title match. She is not showing up on NXT. She's not showing up on Raw Talk or SmackDown or Talking Smack or whatever special they happen to have on the network at that time where they're talking about her dad, but she's talking about her dad. Well, you know, she's not on enough. Just not enough.
No, not at all. No. I was about to say, I haven't seen Charlotte Flair in like forever. It's been a long time. It's just like, you know, I don't see her on Raw, SmackDown, or NXT.
Yeah. I don't think she was on Slam City, and she was not on, what's the Saturday morning show that they had a few years ago? She was not on.
She's not on Main Event either. Aha! There's a show you can start watching. She's not on AEW Dynamite either.
You know what? Next thing you know, maybe they'll have her on NXT UK.
Which is funny that somebody, and I think it was with Jessica, you said, right, who asked a question.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of can segue into this next question, even though we're kind of in the middle of NXT, but it kind of goes hand in hand. And the question I actually wrote on the board, and this is the first time I've ever done something like this on the podcast, because I've seen it out there and I wanted to address it. Do we think that the WWE has oversaturated Charlotte Flair?
If you're asking me, I'm saying yes. If you're asking Vince McMahon, he's going to probably say no.
No, it's good shit, pal.
She's so good.
Shit, that is such good shit, pal.
Anytime we get Charlotte in,
it's oversaturated. I've never seen anything like this. And it's funny that I say that, but I remember
John Cena was so
I remember years ago when they had the brand split, and they actually, this was back when it was WWECW or ECWW, whatever you wanted to call it, and they had CM Punk was still on ECW before he moved to Monday Night Raw, and CM Punk was wrestling on Raw, he was wrestling on SmackDown, and he was still part of ECW. But the thing was that CM Punk was still kind of new to everybody, and they were trying to get him some exposure so that people could know who the hell CM Punk was, so that when he made it to the main roster and he cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase that he won at WrestleMania, the people would be like, hey, that's that CM Punk guy. I've seen him before. And I get that. That's smart booking. The fact that you're just like, here's Charlotte Flair. I'm just going to shove her down everybody's throats.
Yeah.
It's worse than what they're doing with John Cena.
Yeah.
And it's worse than what they did with Roman Reigns. It's just, I'm now officially sick and tired of seeing Charlotte Flair, that I'm actually willing to pay Andrade money to impregnate Charlotte Flair so we don't have to see her anymore.
And it's nothing against Charlotte as a performer. She's doing what she's told.
She's doing exactly what she's told, but this is just typical WWE booking, where it's like, hey, I know people are getting sick and tired of seeing Charlotte Flair, but here we go, have some more Charlotte Flair.
Right. So
I like her as a performer, I really do.
No, you know what? There aren't too many matches she comes out of, and you're like,
that was terrible.
That was terrible. That was a waste of time. I can't believe they did that.
Unless it's against Nia Jax. That's the only time I've ever said that about a Charlotte Flair match.
Well, we're going to get to enjoy Nia's tremendous in-ring performance tomorrow.
If Asuka can spew that green shit in Nia's face and somehow it burns out both of her retinas, it'll be the happiest day. It'll be my mark-out moment of the year. It'll be my mark-out moment of the decade.
Will surpass
That
Edge.
will mark out my mark-out moment of the century.
Okay.
Is if Asuka can actually blind Nia Jax when she's never able to see, so she can't wrestle anymore.
It's very dark.
Yeah, well, I'm brainless, so.
All right. So circling back to NXT, we had Finn Balor going against Cameron Grimes. Grimes here, solid performer, but really has not found his footing yet in NXT. Balor goes over, and at the end of the match, he called out the North American champion, Keith Lee. I know these guys will put on a heck of a match whenever that championship match comes. I can't wait to see it. I can't imagine that Finn Balor is going to go over when they have this match. But you know what? Anything to help Keith Lee keep on
building,
ascending, I'm all for it. Keith Lee is awesome.
Yes, I agree.
So I'm excited to see that feud and blah, 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 blah. All right. Then we briefly Dakota Kai against Canizaro. And this was basically a glorified squash match. Dakota Kai goes over and yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had Phantasma out talking about, being the Cruiserweight champion. Drake Maverick, comes begging for another match for the interim Cruiserweight championship. And they kind of agree, hey, the match is going to happen. Then out of nowhere, two masked men come and beat the hell out of Drake Maverick. Mm-hmm. Blah, 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 blah.
And Raul Mendoza ended up being one of the masked men.
So the two masked men, one was Joaquin Wilde and the other one was Raul Mendoza.
Yes.
And then at the end of it, Phantasma took off his mask to reveal himself and calls himself Santos Escobar. It's really tough in the United States for masked performers to get over. Rey Mysterio is one of the few that I got completely over.
The Fiend, and that's about it.
But beyond that, I mean, there were people back in the day that got to a certain level over. Like, I loved Ultimo Dragon.
Juventud Guerrero.
Yeah.
Psychosis.
La
Parka. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, there's two stars in AEW that are actually doing it that are really made a name for themselves, and that's Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix.
Right. But
so,
Yes,
you are absolutely right that it takes a lot for somebody with a mask to get over, in especially
you can't see their facial expressions.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of what sells this stuff.
Yeah.
Where the luchadors are, they do some really cool, really flashy stuff that that's part of what gets them over.
And it's part of the reason why Andrade was so successful, because when Andrade first came into the wrestling business, he wore a mask, and when he got to NXT, he took the mask off and just became Andrade Cien Almas.
Rio.
and it just worked out for him, you know. And obviously with Ray is just too much into his heritage that he's gonna keep the mask on. But the fact is that Rey Mysterio is the GOAT of
Luchasaurus.
Luchasaurus is, yeah, that's another one. But Rey Mysterio is the GOAT of masked wrestlers.
Right. Speaking of masked wrestlers, and we'll just discuss this briefly, Mr. Wrestling 2 passed away this week. I wasn't super familiar with Mr. Wrestling 2, but I want to say that he was on one of the first WWF pay-per-views back in the day. Mm-hmm. But Mr. Wrestling 2, masked performer, did pass away this week. Mm-hmm. So, while we were talking masked wrestlers, I was like, oh, that happened this week. So,
there you go.
Yeah. Santos Escobar is, Phantasma is now Santos Escobar, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with Drake Maverick here in this feud. His dream right now is to be the Cruiserweight champion, and he's chasing, and everybody wants to see it. I think they should have him chase for a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I think he'll ultimately win the title, though.
Do you think he will win the interim title, or do you think he's going to end up winning it from Jordan Devlin?
I think he's going to end up winning from Jordan Devlin.
Okay.
And those two are going to have a fucking match.
Yeah.
But who knows what they're going to do with Pablo Escobar first.
Santos Escobar.
Calvin Escobar.
Right.
Santos,
his brother.
Jose Santos, the former jockey in horse racing. Yeah,
So,
never mind.
Anyway. So at the end of NXT, we had Adam Cole, baby!
One of these times I'm gonna freaking tear my rotator cuff doing that shit.
Happened to Sami Zayn. Adam Cole went against Dexter Loomis, who they had built a little bit of this beef during TakeOver in their house, and they had a little bit of a promo at the beginning of NXT, but they had a match here, and Adam Cole ends up going over Undisputed Era, beating down Loomis, and Loomis looked really good in this match, but I mean, he's in the ring with a GOAT like Adam Cole, baby! So of course he's going to look good.
Yes.
And Velveteen Dream comes down for the save, but the show ends where the lights go out. Scarlett comes out, not Charlotte, Scarlett, and comes out with an hourglass and puts it in the ring, obviously very much telling the NXT champion,
your time is running out.
Yes. I thought it was a badass visual and just a great ending to the show. I don't know if it's a little too early to put a title on Karrion Kross, but you know what? That's the direction they're going. They made him look super badass against Tommaso Ciampa. I'm wondering if they end up doing the same for him against Adam Cole maybe at the next TakeOver.
Only time will tell.
Yeah.
Like an hourglass.
So that was NXT for this week.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you want to do AEW or do you want to do the stuff getting into Backlash?
I say we do AEW, and personally, I really could give two shits, a rat's ass, or a flying fuck about Monday Night Raw.
Because there were some things about Monday Night Raw we have to discuss because there are things that I have to tiss him about.
But I just don't give a shit about Monday Night Raw. I had my issues with Monday Night Raw for a long ass time. I've had even bigger issues since the biggest issue returned from injury that I so eloquently put on her. So I've had that big of an issue with Monday Night Raw. And on top of the fact that what they did this week pisses me off even more, so I really don't even want to watch Monday Night Raw. They would have to, they could, I am so mad at Monday Night Raw, they could bring back CM Punk on Raw, and I probably still wouldn't watch it. They could bring back Chris Jericho, and I still wouldn't watch Monday Night Raw. Yeah. That's how bad Monday Night Raw is. They could bring back Duke Droese on Raw, and I still wouldn't watch it.
Right.
It would be the most
second
trashy.
greatest gimmick. That gimmick would be trashy, though.
Wait a minute. How is that the second greatest gimmick? That is the greatest gimmick of all time. No, you're right. A Monsoon of Gorillas is definitely more polarizing than a trash man.
Right. Right.
Yes.
All right.
Well, presentation, man looked like a garbage man. I will to this day still speak that Duke Droese is a much better character than what people give him credit for because he looked like a garbage man.
Right. Because that's everything. He looked like a garbage man.
All right, so the people that are tuning in right now,
They probably don't even know who Duke Droese is.
Okay, so
he probably happened before they were born.
Okay, to the people who are tuning in right now who know who Duke the Dumpster Droese is, really quick. If you know who Duke the Dumpster Droese is, you know, whatever day is your garbage day, whatever the day is that your garbage can is sitting out at the end of the street, and I'm talking about like old school, like 90s, early 2000s, where they actually had a garbage truck with a bunch of guys, one guy driving, one guy in the passenger seat, and like a guy or two hanging off the back.
Get to it, Junior.
And basically, they would roll up your street, and they'd pull up to your front yard, and they would pick up your garbage can and throw your trash into the back of the truck, and then put it back on your lawn. When they do that, the guy who jumps off the back of the truck and grabs the can and throws it into the garbage can, does it or does it not look like Duke Droese? And for the people who don't know who Duke Droese is, get on your phones, Google it right now, and tell me that Duke the Dumpster Droese does not look like your garbage man.
So Jessica's chiming in and more or less saying that Monday Night Raw looks like Duke Droese.
Wow.
Referred to it as a dumpster fire. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, Monday Night Raw has been a dumpster fire.
Oh, Monsef is bringing up Nails. He said, what's the name of that prisoner dude?
Nails.
Nails had, I have a big soft spot in my heart for absolutely shit wrestling. If you want to talk about really bad wrestling, go out of your way, Monsef, and go watch El Gigante versus Nails. It is one of the most craptastic matches you will ever see out there. I'd say it may overtake Tom Zenk versus
Primetime Brian Lee
at Clash 13 when Tom Zenk did a high crossbody to the air. Oh, Monsef, check it out, man. It so sucks. So sucks.
The only way that match would have been any worse is if the Great Khali was in there instead of Nails. That's it. Period.
No, they should have had a triple threat. But too bad El Gigante is no longer with us. Rip.
He did.
Monsef did see it. He loved that match. It was good and terrible.
There's no good in that. There's just
good and terrible. Yeah. All right. So AEW this week. We had FTR they debuted this week.
I'm not telling you you're number one either.
I already know. It's great. They went against Butcher and the Blade. They had set this up last week. And one little cool thing that they added, it reminded me of the angle when the Macho Man came to WWF back in the day. They had several managers in the audience looking over FTR and Butcher and the Blade to maybe I should sign this team. And ironically enough, you had Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard watching FTR along with Jake the Snake Roberts. Hey, maybe I need them in my stable or my faction of people.
I'm pretty sure that Arn Anderson, when he was watching the match, he looked at the wrestler formerly known as Scott Dawson and was like, son?
Right.
He looks like Arn Anderson.
He does. I think that's the purpose of it.
Yeah.
But end of the match, Young Bucks ended up coming down.
This was after the FTR did win the match. They went over on Butcher and the Blade, and then the Young Bucks came out and they thanked them and everything. And it just kind of turned into a slight melee, and Butcher and the Blade got involved, and then the most overrated wrestler in the history of professional wrestling and his tag team partner, the GOAT, Hangman Page, came out there. And my favorite part was that Hangman Page had a drink in his hand as he came out to the ring, and I'm like, I fucking love this shit. It is so stupid.
Such good shit.
It's so stupid. It's awesome. And it's like, I'm wearing the shirt. And it's like, I can't really criticize them for doing something like that when that was basically one of the go-tos for the GOAT.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting because at the end of all of that, it was basically the Revival and the Young Bucks and Paige and Kenny Omega all standing there. And it's like, this is going to lead to something down the road. We are absolutely going to get FTR versus the Young Bucks at some point. And we're going to get probably what's going to end up happening is whoever wins that ends up facing Paige and Omega and just
maybe week 1 Fighter Fest, the two non-champions will go against each other, and maybe the second week the winner of that match goes against the champions. And
maybe Hangman Page will go one-on-one with a 30 rack of
PBR,
and freaking Kenny Omega will fight like 12 midgets and a blow-up crocodile and
a 9-year-old. All right. So then we had the best friends with Orange Cassidy going against Jake Hager, Santana, and Ortiz.
Pride and Powerful.
Yeah.
Very entertaining match. Very, very entertaining match.
But the match was entertaining, but it all came down to what happened after the match.
Oh, of course, it came down to what happened after the match.
Because the GOAT of GOATs, who goats more than anybody else is goated.
Wait. If you're going to say it, you got to say it right. And first of all, he's right there.
Yeah.
And second of all, he is the GOAT of GOATs who have goated more than GOATs have ever goated in the history of GOATdom. Do I have to get that on a T-shirt? That's a lot of GOATs on a T-shirt. And we're not talking about like the Boston Red Sox 2004 World Series Championship T-shirt with all the guys on it. That is a lot of GOATs for a GOAT. Yeah, and it led to them having a melee at the end, and the Inner Circle beat the snot out of the best friends in Orange Cassidy, and led to Chris Jericho taking out a sack of oranges and hitting Orange Cassidy in the head.
He beat him to a pole.
A bloodied Orange Cassidy.
He beat him with a pole.
He was definitely bruised after that melee.
It reminded me of that bit from Family Guy where they had Bing Crosby on, where he talked about how, well, if you beat your kids with a sack full of oranges, it doesn't bruise them. It
won't leave a bruise.
Yeah. But, I mean, Chris Jericho doing what Chris Jericho does with Orange Cassidy, and their future match is going to be, it's going to be must see.
It won't be an orange. It'll be bananas.
Really?
Yeah.
Monsef says he thinks Jericho ate a goat.
It's possible. I mean, you are what you eat.
Yeah.
So that's why Orange Cassidy is Orange Cassidy, because he eats oranges.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm assuming.
All right, so Sammy Guevara goes against one Colt Cabana, former best friend of CM Punk.
Yep, and Colt Cabana is one of those guys who has made a name for himself in the independent scene. Had a couple of short stints in WWE and never really panned out. Former United States champion for the revival of the NWA. Signed with AEW, and has basically just been what we kind of expected from Colt Cabana, just eating a lot of pinfalls. He lost to Chris Jericho not too long ago, and Sammy Guevara did go over on Colt Cabana. He used a reverse GTS to get the victory. Pretty impressive move, by the way. Because God only knows that if Kenta actually did it, he would break his kneecap and tear his ACL and concuss himself somehow, picking somebody up.
Yes, but Sammy Guevara finally getting a win, which was nice. But this also led to post-match. Dark Order came out and kind of helped dust off Colt Cabana here. And he went back behind the curtain with them. So Colt Cabana, who has been basically a comedic character for his whole career, maybe this is it'll be an interesting thing if they turn him heel. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what they do with Colt Cabana, because Colt Cabana's there to be a a guy who helps bring up the younger generation of stars. So let's see what they do with this.
Agreed.
All right. Then we had Cody defending his TNT title against Mark Quinn of the Private Party. These guys put out a hell of a match.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You don't always get to see quality matches on TV. This was such good shit,
pal.
And you know, they're both faces, so you know they did the little handshake at the beginning. Hard-hitting affair, really, really solid storytelling, and Cody ends up coming out on top. But Mark Quinn did not look. He did not look bad in losing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been a fan of Mark Quinn. Private Party is one of those teams. They're both very, very young. They're both in their early 20s. They look really good. They have really good chemistry together. I think that they have a bright future as a tag team. And just from what we've seen from Mark Quinn, he's got a chance to be a really good singles competitor once that finally, once the Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty aspect of the tag team finally happens, if it happens.
Right.
But
all right, so after this match, we ended up having Jake Hagar attack Cody and Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson doesn't take too many bumps or doesn't get attacked too much these days because of his injury past.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bit of that. Then Private Party and Matt Hardy came out to make the save.
The Hardy Party.
Yeah.
Is what they're calling them. And that's one thing I will say about AEW that I really don't like. There's too many goddamn factions.
There's a lot of factions, and there's a lot of melees that end the show.
Yeah.
And this was another melee that ended the show,
Mm-hmm.
but it did set up that they're going to have Jake Hagar, however it's pronounced.
Sammy Hagar.
Yeah. Going against Cody for the TNT title at Fyter Fest.
Yep.
So, good. I'm looking forward to seeing this. I don't know if they'll take the title off Cody so soon, but there's little parts of me that think maybe. But we'll talk about that when Fyter Fest is upon us in a few weeks.
Yes.
But that was AEW for this week.
Are we going to talk about Raw?
We could talk about Raw, I guess, but one name that you brought up that maybe why don't, we'll wait until we talk about SmackDown before we talk about this, I guess.
Okay. Because if we're going to talk about Raw, I'm going to go to the bathroom because I have to pee.
We're going to talk about Raw.
Okay.
And the continued oversaturation of Charlotte, who did not show up in 20 segments on Raw, who did not show up in a tag team match at the beginning of Raw, did not have a singles match against the women's champion at the end of Raw. She just did not show up enough on the show. They had 3 hours, and I think she was only in 2 hours and 59 minutes of it. But Asuka and Charlotte, who have a thing going on, ended up going against the women's tag team champions and the Iconics, who are challenging for the tag titles. And actually, or did they? My brain is short-circuiting. They might have gone against Bliss and Cross too. Either way, we ended up having a duo of Charlotte and Asuka who were not getting along at all, defeating not only the tag team champions, but also the people that are going to be competing for the tag team championships on Sunday, tomorrow. But my big question with this, are Charlotte and Asuka going to get a shot at the women's tag team championships? They beat the two of the top teams. So they obviously should get a title shot, right? wait, it's Raw booking. So what we're going to do is we're going to have these two singles competitors who have nothing to do with tag teams fight against tag teams, beat them, only to, set up a singles match for later on in the show. I don't know what sense this makes. This just further buries your tag team division, making them seem like they're not on the level of two singles competitors. I just hated everything about this. I hated what they did at the end of the show too. But how do you do that? How do you freaking do that? You simultaneously turned your continued to oversaturate Charlotte Flair. You continued to bury your women's tag team titles, and you made the match that they're having at Backlash less important and less meaningful. All at once. This was the dumbest thing I saw this week.
I was curious where you were going to go when you were like, that was the dumbest thing I saw. And I'm like, where is he going with this? This week? This month?
No, there's been so many dumb things.
I'm like, because I was like, wait a minute. Because you were, because in case you said it was the dumbest thing you've ever seen, I'm like, wait a minute. Remember Katie Vick?
Yeah.
Remember when they blew up the limousine for Vince McMahon?
Mm.
You remember? And I just go on and on. You remember freaking, whatever the freaking magician dude's name was?
The Black Scorpion?
The other one. The one that was on WWE. And one match. White face paint.
I don't know.
That might have been.
There was Oz back in the day, but that Oz was Kevin Nash, and he showed up a couple times.
Yes, I know who Oz was. I will never forget Oz.
Oh, so Monsef asked, is Cody doing what John Cena did with the U.S. title? Yes.
Basically.
Yes, he is, which was more or less just a copy of the WCW television title, which television title is defended every week. So that's what Cody's doing right now. Also, we did have a question out there that I need to get into.
Okay.
But Alden asked, what point do we see the AEW World Championship changing hands, and who should win it?
Right now, I think that you're going with your hottest hand. You're going with Jon Moxley as your champion.
Who's going to beat him? They're asking specifically, who do you want to beat him?
Who do I want, or who?
And when do we think it's going to happen?
I couldn't tell you when that's going to happen. I really couldn't tell you.
Well, who do you think it's going to be then?
Who do I think is going to end up taking the title from Jon Moxley? Do you really want my honest answer?
Yes, give your honest answer. That's what somebody asked.
Kenny Omega is going to take the title from Jon Moxley. Because
so if it's Omega, it's going to be quite a ways off.
Yes. I'd let him have a title reign, but I think it's going to end up ultimately being Kenny Omega.
Okay.
Dark horse for that, though, MJF.
See, I think I'd put more money on MJF. I think I'd say MJF, and I think it'll happen. I'm not going to say this year. I think it might happen. Well, MJF's number one contender right now. So he might be fighting him at not Fyter Fest. Fyter Fest is Brian Cage.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they have a pay-per-view set up in September. So I'm going to guess that they're going to have a match in September.
I think that's all out again.
I could see it. You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say MJF takes it at All Out. That's what I'm just.
And like I said, Kenny Omega is who I think's going to do it, and my dark horse would be MJF, who I want to see win the AEW World Title. Orange Cassidy.
Right.
I want to see where I will mark out more than Jeff did when Johnny Gargano won the NXT title.
Right. All right. So next thing on Raw, we had the Peep Show. The return of the Peep Show with Christian, who should be a WWE Hall of Famer, but is not yet for some reason. So Christian for the Peep Show came out kind of questioning his best friend, Edge, whether he is ready to have the greatest wrestling match ever. Edge came out actually in an interview and he said that they thought when they said the greatest wrestling match ever, he thought it was a joke. But when they kept saying it over and over and over again, he's like, going, oh, they're not joking. And he's like, how do you put a title like that onto a match? And how can we do anything beyond not living up to that? Like, there are so many amazing matches out there. How can you live up to that?
Mm-hmm.
So Edge, like, that's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure they're going to be the ones that are main eventing this show. But Christian here trying to talk Edge up like, hey, you really ready for this? And then all of a sudden there's a point during the Peep Show where all of a sudden Edge is like, yeah, I'm ready for this. And that's when Orton shows up on the screen, and, you know, Orton being an Orton, and says, hey, I'm going to end your career. They have taped this match already. There are some matches for Backlash they've taped, and some will be live. So far, the little bits and pieces that have come out is that the match is very, very good. So, you know, these are two pros that have been doing this for a very long time. And, you know, I enjoyed the WrestleMania match. As we've discussed, it was a bit long, but overall an enjoyable match. I think this match right here, I think it'll be a good match. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best wrestling match ever. We might have saw that last night. Yeah, Ishmael, Christian not being in the Hall of Fame, it really sucks. You know, Brainless One and I have stopped watching WWE Hall of Fame ceremonies because of how many people they've omitted for petty reasons over the years. And Christian, I don't think they've omitted for petty reasons, but for whatever reason, I mean, he's been out of the ring for almost 6 years now. Put the dude in. He's a former champion, I think 2-time heavyweight champion, I think like 11-time tag champion, Intercontinental champion, ECW champion.
And he was one of the 6 participants in what I believe is the greatest wrestling match in WWE history.
Mm-hmm.
But that's neither here nor there. But it's not like WWE keeps people out that don't belong. It's not like they don't. It's not like Vader's not in the Hall of Fame, or King Kong Bundy's not in the Hall of Fame, or the model Rick Martel is not in the Hall of Fame. And it's not like the Midnight Express isn't in the Hall of Fame. It's not like Demolition isn't in the Hall of Fame. It's not like, dare I just keep going on? No. But you get my point. There's a lot of people who are not in the Hall of Fame that are well deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. 2 of them are in our Hall of Fame. In fact, 2 of the tag teams are in our Hall of Fame. But
right.
You'll put the Bushwhackers in, but you won't put in Vader.
Right.
You'll put in Coco Beware, but you won't put in whatever.
Vader. Lex Luger. I know you're not a big fan of Lex Luger, but if you're talking about accolades and career, Lex Luger had a heck of a career and won many championships.
Drew Carey took part in like 1 Royal Rumble where he eliminated himself and got put into a Hall of Fame. When you have guys like Lawrence Taylor who main evented and won at WrestleMania.
CM Punk can't say that.
I don't even think Chris Jericho actually won in the main event at WrestleMania either.
Yeah.
There you go.
Gagsy Khan saying he does not believe stinky-ass Rikishi belongs in the Hall of Fame.
I would say I would disagree.
I would say that if there was a line to be drawn, I think somebody like a Rikishi would probably be about the line.
Yeah.
He was a solid performer for a while. I loved him when he was in Samoan SWAT team back in NWA and WCW.
I was a fan
when he was the head shrinker.
Yeah, me too.
Not so much when he was the Sultan, but
Sultan was kind of stupid. The whole thing with him and Too Cool, I thought was kind of just.
Yeah, it was fun.
At the time, it was cool, but now looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, this was unnecessary. And then like they tried to push him to be like an actual star, it just didn't work out. But I did enjoy him, especially like you said when he was in the tag teams with one of his cousins, and that's Samu, especially when they were in the Head Shrinkers, and they are former WWE tag team champions too.
So, yeah. So Eric also says any match with Mikey Whipwreck cannot be topped.
Speaking of people who should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, by the way, Mikey Whipwreck.
Right.
Although, I mean, as much as I am a fan of Mikey Whipwreck, I'm going to have to disagree. That match that we witnessed last night that might have been the greatest match in SmackDown history last night.
Couple of goats.
I mean, it was definitely a couple of goats.
And we'll get into it a bit more, but that match specifically was on SmackDown because the greatest match ever would not have been able to follow that. All right, one thing we had on Monday Night Raw, we had a triple threat match trying to determine who will be going against Apollo Crews at Backlash. It was against Kevin Owens, Angel Garza, and Andrade. At the beginning of this match, the members of Zelina Vega's faction were teaming up against Owens. Really were holding their own. They had a point in the match where things kind of broke down, and Zelina Vega ends up taking a bump, falling down. Both of her performers, what do? They didn't even pay attention. Like this was not like the Macho Man and Hulk Hogan when Miss Elizabeth took a bump, where both of them were trying to help out, and nope, neither one cared. So I don't know if that was just bad storytelling, or if this was character development. I guess we'll find out soon. Bad storytelling in that they no-sell the fact that our manager's down on the ground, or are they both so enamored with themselves that they don't give a crap?
Or maybe they thought that the other one was going to check on her, and they didn't.
I doubt it.
Maybe it was the Fratellis.
Yeah. Ishmael, Zelina, Aleister Black is a very lucky man. Zelina is smoking. When it was a couple of weeks ago, she dressed up as, I think it was one of the Mortal Kombat ladies.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's a tremendous follower on Instagram, by the way.
Yeah.
Double up.
With all that going on, Kevin Owens, towards the end of the match, hits the stunner, going to pin Garza. Andrade, ever the opportunist, throws off Kevin Owens, pins Angel Garza, and he gets the shot at the U.S. Championship, getting a rematch and earning a rematch, not just getting an automatic one. So I like that part of it.
They finally did something right after all the fucking misfires over the years.
Yeah, Eric, her playing video games definitely takes her up a couple of notches. So, yeah. We did have a decathlon between the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits. I know some people out there aren't fans of these. I love them. I love the ridiculousness of this. Eventually, it's going to lead to, I think, something other than just fun and games. While they need to have as few people in the arena as possible. But during the decathlon, nothing was decided. 50-50. 50-50 booking from WWE, even in decathlons and bowling matches and axe throws. But if nothing else, it entertains the ever-living heck out of me.
Maybe in a couple of weeks they'll do a hot dog eating contest just like Nathan's usually does on the 4th of July.
Yeah. Oh, look. They're doing MVP and Matt Hardy.
Oh,
yeah, they did that years ago. Yeah.
I remember that.
Oh. I still think Ava Marie is the hottest. They need her back. That's what Gagsy Clown said. Gagsy Clown is an awful lot like you, Cousin Bobby. He enjoys inciting. He enjoys sending me pictures of coffee stouts. He knows I don't enjoy them.
Yes, I know, and he likes to talk about the Big Show to me.
He does. Yep. Good times. Good times.
Don't worry, Eric. I never forget stuff like this during the podcast.
He's going to send Gags the Clown after you, and he.
I never said what I was going to do. I just said I remember when people do things to me like this on the podcast.
He might even send Streaks the Clown after you. And if you have not seen Gags the Clown the movie, you won't understand. But you need to see the Gags the Clown movie, which is on Amazon Prime right now and available for renting on various other places. I think on YouTube, Vudu, and all that stuff. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you check out Streaks the Clown. And
make sure you tune into the WWE Network to watch Doink the Clown.
Yes. And Dink the Clown.
And Wink and Pink.
Yes.
And Sleazy and Cheesy and Queasy and Jerry Lawler and all the other stupid stuff that WWE has ever done.
Yeah. All right. So we had MVP and Bobby Lashley going against the Viking Raiders. I know they're trying to build up Bobby Lashley. I appreciate that they're trying to build up Bobby Lashley. This was kind of a glorified handicap match where Bobby Lashley was doing almost everything. And he took out the Viking Raiders, who were not that long ago the Raw Tag Team Champions. I know they're trying to make him look dominant. They're trying to get him to a point where when he goes against Drew McIntyre, you're like, going, yeah, I can see him winning. You know, he ends up submitting, I forget which one, with the full Nelson, but then even after the match, he put the other, both of them, both Eric and Ivar, both ate the full Nelson, and, you know.
The one from Cleveland took the loss, and then the bigger one, the one that used to be Hanson,
yeah,
got the full Nelson after the match.
So, but Lashley looks strong here, building towards his match with McIntyre. You know me, I want to see Lashley versus Lesnar. I've been talking about it before Lashley even came back to the organization.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it happens. He's going about it better than Matt Riddle did. So, yeah. He wants to bring back the Beatdown Clan. There's one thing about the match that scares me. I know, Chris, you mentioned last week you're scared that Lashley's going to win this thing, which means that Lashley against Lesnar at SummerSlam for the title, which would probably mean maybe Lesnar gets another run. Personally, I would prefer if they did have that match, Lashley would win, and that would propel Lashley to the next level, because I think him with MVP is a nice combo.
Agreed.
So,
I've actually liked this run with Bobby Lashley. I know I've said this before, but I'm actually liking this now because he just was not. Him as a face just wasn't working because he was trying to be just something he's not, and it just didn't work out. And what always stuck out for me was when he had that feud with Sami Zayn, and it was like Sami Zayn had Bobby Lashley's sisters in the ring, and it's like, and he was he was basically making fun of Bobby Lashley. And Bobby Lashley came out to the ring smiling and being normal. Let me tell you something right now. If I was a professional wrestler and somebody was like basically doing that and making fun of my sister, I'd be going out there and beating the fucking shit out of the person.
your sister would beat the shit out of
That's
person.
very true, but
Right.
I'm just saying, but as me, that's what I would do. Not like just come out and hit my music and I'm coming out and I'm smiling and slapping fives. And I ain't doing that shit. I'm going to run as fast as I can to get into the ring to beat the fucking shit out of the person.
Yeah.
So.
But, they have a little bit of an interesting dichotomy there where Lana is still kind of supporting her husband. And obviously that breakup is going to come at some point, and Lana is going to end up managing somebody else.
Or wherever Rusev is.
She just signed like a 5-year deal like a year ago.
Yeah, so did Mike Bennett and Maria, and they both got released after not even a year into the contract.
They released a lot of people. If Lana was going to get released, she would have been released.
Maybe they needed to finish the storyline first.
But it hasn't stopped WWE before.
Yeah, well, I didn't get what to tell you.
Right? WWE. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah?
Brock, the ultimate farmer. Very true. All right. Then, the match we've all been waiting for. We got to see Charlotte because we do not see her on TV enough.
I haven't seen her in like weeks.
She did not have a promo at the beginning of Raw. She did not have a tag team match at the beginning of Raw that ended up bearing the Women's Tag Team Championships at all. And she did not, we have not seen her in the ring with Asuka enough.
Yep.
And she did, you know what? Thankfully, we got to see her versus Asuka in a non-title match, which, I mean, I was shocked at the end of this match, completely shocked.
You're talking about the fact that Snorlax interfered in the match and cost Asuka her match against Charlotte?
And we got a champion losing
Clean.
in a non-title match.
It wasn't really clean.
It wasn't clean, but we got champion losing.
Less of a tism for you because it was a non-clean loss.
But WWE did this a couple times this week, so Charlotte beats the women's champion. Not only did she beat the women's champion, her and Asuka beat the women's tag team champions.
Yeah.
I don't know what more I could tell you. Again, Charlotte, hell of a performer. I'm hoping the end game for this feud with Asuka is Asuka finally gets her damn victory.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that will make this work.
Or if Asuka spews the green shit into Nia Jax's eyes and her retina's burn out.
Right, that could happen tomorrow.
And Asuka will be my favorite wrestler of all time.
You'll get to predict that momentarily.
Yep, I will.
All right, so on to SmackDown. SmackDown this week started with Jeff Harvey and Sheamus.
Who the fuck does Jeff Harvey think he is?
And they had a contract signing for their match on Backlash, which is strange. It's almost like when they do the contract signing, like it's always been a title match. I guess it's a good. Hey, it's okay to change. Mm-hmm. It's okay to switch things up. So they're like, oh, all right, we'll make this match seem like a bigger deal. We'll have a contract signing, but Sheamus being the heel and being a dick here just says, hey, I'm not going to sign this contract until you take a urine test. And you need to do this now. And did like a little PSA where he's like, don't do drugs. Or say no to drugs. But so as all this is going on, Jeff Harvey, thank you, Mike Adamley, for that forever. Jeff Hardy pees into a large pitcher, and then ends up giving Sheamus a golden shower. Sheamus's face was fantastic. He was super tism.
Who the fuck does Jeff Harvey think he is? Throwing piss in my boy's face, man. I have a serious problem with that. Who the fuck does he think he is? That freaking alcoholic, druggy fuck, Jeff Harvey, thinks he could do that shit to the GOAT Sheamus? Fuck out of here. I hope Sheamus fucking buries his ass on Sunday.
And we'll get to predict that shortly.
Yep, we will. And I will, too.
It was an interesting way to keep telling the story. I still don't like how the story started. It was kind of, I know it made Vince McMahon laugh because he loves crap like this.
That's really
such good shit, pal.
That was really good shit, pal.
So, I don't know, this feud, you got two guys who are recently coming back from injury, and it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the story they tell. So, Sheamus is a god-awful Big Show. Big Show is greater than Sheamus. You're going to cause his brain to melt, and he doesn't even have a brain. All right. Then another thing that happened. Another great thing that happened this week on SmackDown we had the New Day, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, in a non-title match going against Nakamura and Cesaro. Can you guess what happened, Cousin Bobby?
The Big Show is not better than Sheamus. Oh, I'm sorry. Nakamura and Cesaro won clean against the tag team champions in a non-title match. Because we've never seen that before in the history of professional wrestling or in the history of WWE. We've never seen the tag team champions or any singles champion lose a non-title match clean to help set up for a feud that's going to later lead to a title match, because WWE doesn't know any other way to help somebody earn a title shot than to have your champions lose cleanly in a non-title match to help set up for your
Or have a gauntlet match. Triple threat.
You know, I mean, it's not like they could be like, hey, let's have a triple threat match, and whoever wins the triple threat match becomes the number one contender for the United States Championship. Well, they did something smart.
So, obviously, we're going to see Nakamura.
We're not going to see Nakamura Tomara.
Yeah.
Or Tamura.
And Cesaro will go against the New Day at some point. I'm wondering if this is going to be added to the Backlash card or if this is just going to be a TV feud. But I got the sneaking suspicion we'll be seeing New Day defeat them, because that hasn't happened before.
Side note, the New Day on their way to the ring last night, they actually took a knee and raised their hand in support of George Floyd. George Floyd, right? Yeah. I thought that was a really nice gesture that they did last night.
Yeah. So then we had the greatest match ever for the IC title. I'm just looking what Chris is writing here.
I know.
Talking about Nakamura might be due for a face turn.
Oh, it's going to happen soon, I think. They need face Amuro again.
Right.
Because his heel turn has just kind of fallen flat, even though he won the Intercontinental title from it.
Right.
And the U.S. title, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. All right, speaking of Intercontinental title, AJ Styles went against Daniel Bryan. Couple of goats.
The Battle of the Goats.
Before we get completely into this, earlier this week, AJ Styles did an interview and followed up on something that CM Punk said about him.
And we did touch base on what CM Punk said about AJ Styles last week on the show.
More or less just silence speak louder than words, and why isn't AJ using his platform to say something about what happened with George Floyd and all the stuff going on?
And he wasn't surprised because of what he knows about AJ Styles for years.
And AJ did an interview this week promoting Backlash and promoting SmackDown, and more or less said, I couldn't give two rats' asses of what CM Punk says about me. I only care about what people say about me from people who I respect.
And he also said that he uses professional wrestling as an outlet for people to get away from everything that's going on in this world, and that is what he does. Hey, whatever he wants to do, that's fine. I mean, not everybody has to use the platform for whatever they need to do. What John Cena has done, donating $1 million to the Black Lives Matter, is a wonderful thing that he has done. And a lot of wrestlers are coming out and using their platform. Doesn't mean everybody has to do it. Per se. So
Separating the entertainment from the
real life aspect of life is...
Ishmael, we agree, too many commercials in wrestling.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So AJ Styles going against Daniel Bryan in this match was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Everything you would expect from two of the greatest performers in the world today, and doing it on TV. I wish that we would have gotten this match without commercials. But, hey, we're watching it for free on TV, so I guess that's what we got to do. But these guys delivered in every way, shape, or form. I loved this match, and it all came down to a mistake at the end from the GOAT, Daniel Bryan.
Yep.
And AJ Styles putting him in the Styles Clash, give him phenomenal forearm for the victory. AJ Styles, who is dead 2 months ago from The Undertaker.
AJ AJ Styles just proved to everybody that even when you get buried, you can still overcome and become a champion.
That's right.
And with that victory last night for the Intercontinental Championship, AJ Styles is now just a tag team title away from being a Grand Slam champion. How about them apples?
Yeah. And one of the things when Styles came in WWE was, how are they going to treat him?
Well, I still remember when he came out during the Royal Rumble 2016 when he made his debut, and Vince McMahon only visioned him as a guy who was going to be like a high mid-card wrestler. He didn't expect AJ Styles to be a star for the company. And here we are, fast forward to 2020, and AJ Styles is one of the top guys in WWE. He sells the merchandise. He has these great matches. He's won the WWE Championship twice. He won the United States Championship twice. He's now won the Intercontinental title. You could say that AJ Styles has had one hell of a 4-year run since he debuted back in 2016.
And Andy, you're just trying to troll us here. AJ Styles doesn't suck.
Some people can think that, though. People are entitled to their opinions.
They're entitled to their opinions. Like, I know you think Jeff Harvey is overrated, but
I don't like Jeff Harvey.
I know that. But AJ Styles, congratulations. Dude's worked his tail off for the company, so good for him. All right, so then we had the championship celebration for Bayley and Sasha Banks, to which Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss came out, and then we had on Titantron the Iconics. This was not the best use of time for these three teams after what they did on Monday night, where they buried two of these teams to a non-tag team. This was just not a great build-up for this match that they're going to have tomorrow night. And I think they're actually probably going to put on a entertaining match. But this was not a great segment. I mean, the Iconics in general were like, hey, we beat both teams out there.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take both of you down come Sunday night. But in general, this was, I'm not going to say useless, but it was not well executed.
I still think that Sasha and Bayley should not have won the tag team titles. It would have made more sense for the Iconics to win it, and to make this a triple threat match is kind of stupid and everything. So I don't know. I got nothing else.
Yeah.
I just.
All right. And then one of my least favorite feuds. I think they've come up with it.
I love it.
So a match that they have set up for Backlash is they have The Miz and Morrison going against Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship. A handicap match for the Universal title. Apparently, Braun learned absolutely jack shit from having a handicap match for the Intercontinental title a couple of months ago. He's not the brightest bulb in the forest. I know I've combined a couple of
You're like
different metaphors.
You're basically like the bartender in Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
People in glass houses shouldn't sink ships. Or people in glass houses sink ships.
Yeah.
Fuck ass.
uh,
I think the bartender's dead. So
he is. Andy said, "Did we see the money shot on AEW during the women's match? Pinfall best camera ever."
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go back on that.
Out comes the new Fiend, Bo Dallas. The main event of SmackDown, we had Dolph Ziggler, The Miz and Morrison going against Heavy Machinery and Braun Strowman.
I liked it just because we basically adopted Heavy Machinery as the official. I'm not even going to say the unofficial. They are officially the tag team of the F and Marks podcast.
Yes.
And I enjoy it because Otis definitely deserves TV time. He is definitely making the most of his opportunities. He is rather entertaining. He's not a terrible wrestler. He is just, I love it. I just love it. And I love the fact that he's in the main event and he's getting these opportunities to, to finally show what he is worth. And this is great. And solid match. He gets the victory as he hits the stupid caterpillar. I still think he needs a better finishing move than the caterpillar on Dolph Ziggler to get the victory, and the three of them and Mandy Rose standing strong at the end of the match. I had no problem with that.
It was fine for what it was, but I just Braun Strowman, he's going against the very recently defeated SmackDown Tag Team Champions. So one of two things is going to happen in this title match at Backlash. Either Braun Strowman is really stupid keeping on putting his title on the line in the handicap matches, or your very recently defeated SmackDown Tag Team Champions are going to lose to one person. Stupid.
Stupid idiots.
Just absolutely stupid. I don't like it at all.
I don't either.
Anyway, all of that garbage is now leading us into Backlash.
But before we get into that, there was one thing I wanted to talk about that is on the GOAT board of Gratitude. And I know that's something that we were talking about a little bit earlier, and we could get a little bit more into detail. And that was the change of command in regards to Monday Night Raw. So almost a year ago, Vince McMahon came out and announced that the executive director of Monday Night Raw was going to be Paul Heyman, and the person who was going to be running SmackDown in the same capacity was going to be Eric Bischoff. For whatever reason, Eric Bischoff never really got the opportunity to get into that role, and they kind of fired him and then gave the position to Bruce Pritchard. Since Bruce Pritchard has been in charge of SmackDown, it has stunk something fierce. It has been fucking hot garbage. And I don't know why. It's probably because Bruce Pritchard is not that good. So anyway, because of the fact that Monday Night Raw has been sinking in the ratings, and it's not because of the fact that, it has nothing to do with the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic, or the fact that, nobody really wants to watch empty arena matches, or matches where you have NXT guys that nobody's ever heard of and never will. They're just going to be future endeavored or what have you. But the fact is that, Vince McMahon is blaming it on the creative side of everything. Even though that what Paul Heyman has been doing has been giving opportunities to people who have been in certain situations not receiving these opportunities. Guys like Andrade, who won the United States Championship, and Aleister Black, and as they so eloquently refer to as the SmackDown Six, which are the six people who were basically used more in catering than they were during actual SmackDown matches. Aleister Black and Apollo Crews and so forth and so on, to name a few.
Cedric
Alexander, guys who were not utilized. And Paul Heyman came in there and was trying to give these guys more TV time and more of an opportunity to showcase themselves. But the fact is that Vince McMahon didn't like what the ratings were doing, so Vince McMahon relieved Paul Heyman of his duties. The one thing I want to take away from this is that a lot of people are saying that Paul Heyman was fired. Paul Heyman was relieved of his duties as executive director of Monday Night Raw. Paul Heyman is still the advocate for Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman is not fired. Paul Heyman is still an employee of WWE.
You would call him demoted.
I would say he was relieved of his duties as executive director, but still he's the advocate still. Because there's no way, shape, or form that Brock Lesnar would come back if Paul Heyman was not his advocate. And the last thing Vince McMahon wants to do is piss off the beast incarnate. So, and with that, what they decided they were going to do is they were just going to combine the teams that are doing creative for both Raw and SmackDown and put Bruce Pritchard in charge of both. I have no words for this. I really don't, because I have no idea. Vince just needs to contract the coronavirus at this point and succumb to it. End of discussion. I've said it before. I've been saying it for weeks. I'm going to continue to say it. WWE is not going to get better until Vince McMahon croaks. Because that's the only way that he's going to stop running WWE is when he's dead.
Or he sells it. somebody needs to give them enough money to get them go away.
I know, I keep trying to hit Powerball every single week and just combine all my Powerball winnings to buy the WWE.
Right.
And then the first thing I do is I turn Kevin Owens into Captain Cupcake.
Right.
Where he just comes out and eats cupcakes in the ring like a fat fuck that he is.
So, yeah.
But I thought it was a stupid move by WWE to relieve Heyman of these duties, because at least with Heyman he was giving people an opportunity. Yes, I know that it was kind of like a slow burn to get these people to where he wanted them to go, and Vince was like, you said earlier, ratings. We need ratings. And like I said, it's not like we're in the middle of a pandemic or anything.
It's just very short-sighted from Vince, and they signed a 5-year deal with Fox and USA not that long ago. Yes, there are certain things when it comes to the ratings, like, yes, you would like to keep the ratings up. And there's only so much Paul Heyman could do, but, I mean, stupid storyline-wise, you can't overcome some stupid storylines, but you also can't build brand new superstars overnight.
Yeah.
And Vince McMahon, for a long time, John Cena was his horse. Well, he didn't get anybody else over, so when John Cena got injured, guess what?
Yeah, nobody.
They had nobody there. So Paul Heyman, what he's trying to do is trying to build an entire roster, not just a few. And, he tried building up Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. And Vince McMahon, for whatever reason, put the kibosh on that and buried them. Almost like his way of showing off to Paul Heyman. I'm the top dog here. What I say goes. So stupid things like that were going on. I think with Heyman, Heyman doesn't always come up with genius ideas, but at least he comes up with unique ideas.
And think about this. If it wasn't for the fact that Paul Heyman was so enamored with one of the guys who was building up the sets in the rings before the show started, who was doing flips and all this stuff like a professional wrestler, and gave him a chance, Mikey Whipwreck would never have had the greatest moment in ECW history when he won the World Heavyweight title.
Right.
Just saying. And Paul Heyman did a hell of a job of what it was to utilize all of his talents. Because, let's say if Paul Heyman had done that, and it was, let's say it was Rob Van Dam that was the star of WC or ECW, and it was just RVD, and let's say RVD got hurt. It's not like it's like, oh, what the hell are we going to do? It's not like he had his head up his ass and not know. No, he had guys like Tommy Dreamer he could have put into that spot. He had guys like Sandman. He had guys like Sabu. He had guys like New Jack. He had guys like Mikey Whipwreck and so forth and so on. And he built up that entire show because all these guys became stars. I mean, for crying out loud, if it wasn't for Paul Heyman, the Blue Meanie wouldn't have been shit. He had Jerry Lynn. What the hell was the other dude's name? He's a trainer now for WWE. Shit.
There were a lot of them. I mean,
but he's Kidman. Billy Kidman. He had freaking Just Incredible.
Yeah.
The Portuguese Man of War? Are you kidding me? That's why it's just like I don't know what the fuck Vince McMahon is doing. And I also really don't know what the fuck Andy's talking about when he says we got to bring back Vince Russo. If it wasn't for the fact that it was for the dark side of the room, dark side of the ring, freaking, I would still be chiming in about the fact that Vince Russo killed Owen Hart. But the fact is Vince Russo is the biggest fucking retard that has ever had anything to do with professional wrestling, period. Vince Russo does not deserve an opportunity or a chance ever again in the wrestling industry. That's my thing.
Yeah?
That man put the World Heavyweight Championship on David Arquette. What he did with the WCW World Heavyweight Championship was the worst thing that was ever done in professional wrestling. It was an absolute slap in the face to the professional wrestlers in the industry, to the fans that were watching at home, and to people worldwide. David Arquette should not have been World Heavyweight Champion. That's all I have to say about Vince Russo.
Yeah?
And David Arquette.
Okay.
So, all right, let's get into Backlash predictions.
All right. We've got Jeff Harvey going against Sheamus. I agree. Sheamus should get the victory based off how they're booking this feud. I don't necessarily see this as the end of the feud. I think this is
they're
going to
just
keep
gonna
going.
Keep going on, yes.
But Sheamus wins.
The Sheamus. It's a shameful thing.
Lobster head.
A careless man who can wind up dead. Too many limes. Too many limes. No, I don't know that song or anything.
Right. You didn't wake up to it like every day.
Ah.
Yeah. All right. Apollo Crews going against Andrade for the U.S. Championship.
I don't see them hot potato. I mean, as much as this has been a hot potato championship of recent years, I don't see they're going to do this. Plus, they really want to push Apollo Crews a little bit more. I'm going with Apollo Crews.
Absolutely agreed. And I think these guys have the possibility of having the greatest wrestling match of the night. Possibly.
They could also have the greatest wrestling match of the pre-show.
They could.
If it's on the pre-show.
Pre-show stoppers.
Yes. Right back.
Yep. All right, then we have a triple threat for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Sasha Banks and Bayley going against Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, and going against the Iconics. I'm going with the Iconics here.
You know what's funny? I was actually going to say that the last time that Sasha and Bayley defended the tag team championships at a pay-per-view, they lost them in their first defense on a pay-per-view as tag team champions. So I could see them actually doing this again. I'm going with the Iconics.
All right, well, can't believe we agreed on that one. Like the Iconics, got stuck in Australia because of visa issues and coronavirus. So it kind of sucks for them that they had all sorts of momentum, had it stolen away.
I think Gags the Clown also thinks the Iconics are going to win the tag team title.
He does.
Wow, he reacts to the
Iconics with a backstabber from Andy. All right, Cruz retains.
I think that
Chris thinks that there's going to be interference in the Sheamus match.
Well, it's not going to be broken Matt Hardy, or the Matt Hardy that can slam a tornado.
Right.
I think that Gags the Clown reacts to the Iconics the same way that El Jefe reacts to Johnny Gargano, and anybody else who is from the land or lives in the land or was born in the land or has watched a baseball game in the land or can point the land out on a map or drove through the land.
Right.
Land.
Yeah, I just see they made Sasha and Bayley, I think, transitional champions here, and it was just something to get their feud to break them apart. It was unnecessary. To put this title so, all right. This is going to probably be your favorite match to call. Asuka versus Nia Jax.
Nia Jax is going to not only lose this match, but she's going to lose her eyesight.
Okay.
Green mist to the retinas.
Okay.
I'm going 2 for 2, baby. Oh.
All right. I agree. Asuka wins this match. I think Charlotte will be on our TV again for the cajillionth time. But Asuka wins this match some way, somehow. Maybe she sprays the coronavirus on Nia Jax.
I'll just take the green mist at this point.
Okay. All right. Braun Strowman in a handicap match defending the Universal title against Miz and Morrison.
You go first on this one.
I'm going Miz and Morrison here.
Jesus fucking Christ. Jay.
I think that Miz is finally going to get the title, the heavyweight title that he deserved a couple of years ago when he had the feud of the year and was the heel of the year and was the greatest thing going.
I agree. I think it's going to be Miz and Morrison. And I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Otis Dosovich actually cashed in on the two of them as well, but I really do think that Miz and Morrison...
Tucky?
I don't even know if even Tucky's going to be a part of it. I just think that the Dozer's going to do it. But I'm going to say definitely Miz and Morrison take it, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a cash-in after the match.
Gags the Clown loves him some John Morrison. I do too. I met him briefly back in the day. TV station I worked up at Providence. When SmackDown would be in town or Raw, they would have the wrestlers show up, and I met him very briefly. He was the Intercontinental Champion at the time, but he came in a limo, and they had a special thing for the Intercontinental title. So when he brought it out, it was Oh my God, man, freaking cool. So cool. Got a couple of people, Ishmael saying Asuka is the best thing on Raw. I love Asuka. I've loved her for a long time. Nia wins by a DQ. Gags the clown. All right. Christopher says Asuka retains.
Oh, nobody.
Andy says Nia wins with turnbuckle power bomb.
I don't know who this Andy guy is, but he's funny as shit, man. All right, Andy, I like it.
All right. Gags the Clown said he met him last year at ACW WrestleFest, and he is fucking awesome. As far as John Morrison.
Yeah, and everybody knows how my personal affinity towards The Miz, so I'm picking Miz and Morrison. Because he is The Miz, and he is still awesome.
Yeah. All right. Drew McIntyre going against Bobby Lashley.
Going with Bobby Lashley.
This one I'm super, super conflicted about. Like, they made McIntyre feel like an absolute beast. And then he beat the beast incarnate at WrestleMania. You know, I'm going to go with McIntyre.
Okay. Well, time you.
I mean, part of me wanted to go with Lashley, but I'm like going,
Part of me thinks that the main reason why I think they're doing this, and it's not that I don't think that Bobby Lashley deserves a shot at the WWE Championship. No, this is well deserving. This run has been a much better than his first run with WWE, and I am on board 100% with heel Bobby Lashley. But part of me thinks that the reason that they're going to put the title on him tomorrow is because of everything that's going on right now, and that's WWE's way of reacting to the situation. Not that I'm saying that Bobby Lashley doesn't deserve a title shot or to win the title, because Bobby Lashley 100% deserves to be WWE champion. I just,
yeah.
With the way WWE books things and thinks, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the reason why, or the reason behind them doing what they're doing, if they did it.
That's fantastic, Eric. Asuka would be his freebie. Very interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, there's something about her. All right. Something that has been used almost more ridiculously than that damn WrestleMania sign every year.
Greatest wrestling match ever.
The greatest wrestling match ever. We finally, like tomorrow, hopefully will be the end of us hearing about this for a very long time. Hopefully there's not a recap on Raw and then on SmackDown about the greatest wrestling match ever. But we will have the greatest wrestling match ever and probably going to be the main event since they call it the greatest wrestling match ever. Nothing can ever possibly follow it. Edge versus Randy Orton. All right. The brainless one goes with Orton.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because Edge took the match in his return one-on-one match at WrestleMania against Randy Orton. This is going to be Randy Orton's victory in a straight-up wrestling match between the two of them, which will then eventually set up for a rubber match, which could either happen probably at SummerSlam or whatever the pay-per-view is in July.
Okay.
Probably Battleground or Stomping Grounds or some kind of stupid grounds or whatever it is. But I think that is what is ultimately going to lead to them having a nice thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if this ultimately led to the return of Rated RKO either. So,
yeah. I'm going to say Edge.
Okay.
I completely understand where you're going with that. It makes complete sense. I'm going to go with Edge here, just because I guess I'm sentimental. So I'm going to go with Edge. They want to come back. They want a strong comeback. So hey, maybe we end up getting Edge versus Miz and Morrison for the heavyweight title. Right?
Right.
Who knows? So that is the Backlash card. The crazy thing about this is, like, 5 championship matches. There are 7 matches scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
5 championship matches. I mean, And the main event is a non-championship match.
Yep.
Which goes to a bit to show what they think of Braun Strowman, I guess.
And Drew McIntyre.
Drew, I mean, he doesn't have yeah. Drew has a match. It's like, yeah.
I like them apples. Or it could just mean that what they really think of Edge and Randy Orton. Just looking at the other angle of it.
All right, so a couple of things here. Orton with interference from Christian, which was something I talked about for the WrestleMania build. Then we got Chris saying Orton wins, which will give Orton the pissed off motivation to go to NXT and kick Tommaso Ciampa's ass.
Okay.
Yeah. Chris, you know what? We wish you a happy birthday, sir. So we hope on Tuesday you will have a splendid birthday and
very nice.
hope all is well with you and that you get all you hope for.
And I also like to take this opportunity. I wish I had done this at the beginning, but unfortunately, I'll just do it now. Not that it's the worst thing in the world, but today actually happens to be my mother's birthday.
Yeah?
My mother turned 62 today. So happy birthday to the mother of the brainless one, Carol. I hope you have a wonderful day, Mom, and I love you, and happy birthday.
Yeah.
And they're celebrating somebody's graduation outside.
Sweet.
That's what all that honking is.
They can't hear it.
I was letting you know.
I don't get distracted by those things.
I get distracted if they're...
I know. You squirrel.
I know. Damn it, I was actually going to do that. You beat me to it. Anyway, so time for the good, the bad, and the brainless.
Yeah.
So, Cousin Jay, what is your good for this week?
AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan. Couple of goats in the ring having the greatest match ever.
Okay. I have no problems with that. There was a point that I actually was going to go with Orange Cassidy and his performance on Wednesday against the 3 members of the Inner Circle in the 6-man tag match. But instead, I decided for my good for this week, I am going to go with NXT In Your House. Not the actual pay-per-view itself, it was good, but the fact that it had kind of like that old school feel with the setup of like the old In Your Houses from the 90s and everything. And I love that. It was very nostalgic for me, and I love nostalgia. I'm a huge history fan. So the fact that they kind of brought back that and brought me back to my childhood of being a wrestling fan, of watching these In Your Houses, which were kind of like the complimentary pay-per-views that they did before they actually did actual pay-per-views like Backlash and No Mercy. And if it wasn't for In Your House, we wouldn't be having Backlash tomorrow, or Money in the Bank, or any of those other subsidiary pay-per-views.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that. I just love the setup for In Your House.
All right.
What's your bad for this week?
My bad for this week, and in general, storyline-wise, I just don't like the idea of a handicap match for a singles title. When they did that a few months ago, I was like going, all right, the only thing that would kind of be fun is if all 3 members of the handicap team had the title and like had 1/3 of it. They didn't do that. It was just the person who got the pin. And when he talked about, what the heck do you call it? Sami Zayn coming in a clown car.
Uh-huh.
Nobody expected Sami Zayn to be the one to win. As far as that goes, they swerved us, and that was fun and all, but like, you should not have a singles title defended in a handicap match, and just it's stupid. You're either going to bury a high-ranking tag team, or you're going to make your champion or possibly former champion look like an idiot for keeping on going after more than one person at once while he has a title. So that's my bad.
That's a good bad. My bad for this week is I'm going with the Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream match from Sunday. The 2 of them are tremendous in-ring talents, and I have no problems with either one of them when they have their wrestling matches. I just thought, like, how they handled it, like the back lot brawl that they did was kind of a little tasteless for what is going on right now. I think they should have pumped the brakes on a match like that, considering what is happening. And it's not just because of that. Obviously, I felt the same way when Matt Hardy kind of got drowned, not like days after Shad Gaspard drowned in the freaking ocean in Florida. And I just, in situations like this, you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. And it felt like, for me, it really just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I just was not a big fan of how they kind of booked that match the way they did. And I'm sorry, that was why it's my bad.
All right. Brainless for this week. I'm going back for the beginning of the week for Monday Night Raw. You have the tag team champions and the top contenders lose to a makeshift team.
Mm-hmm.
And that makeshift team is not getting a title shot. They're not getting a title shot ever or anytime soon. It was meant to build that feud for Asuka and Charlotte, by the way, and then having your champion lose later on that night. But that was one of the dumbest things booking-wise you could have done. You just made your women's championship look like garbage, and the two teams that are competing, two of the three teams competing for that, are not better than the makeshift tag team.
Agreed. That's not my brainless.
Stupid.
I agree with what your idea with that, or your thoughts with that. For me, my brainless goes to WWE. And I'll tell you why it goes to WWE, more so Vince McMahon than anything else. And that's the fact that Paul Heyman got relieved of his duties as executive director of Monday Night Raw. Not even a year ago. They basically missed it by like a couple weeks. They announced that Paul Heyman and it was at the time Eric Bischoff were going to be running Raw and SmackDown respectively. And Eric Bischoff never really even got a chance to get into the position of working as the executive director for SmackDown, and he was later replaced by Bruce Pritchard. Paul Heyman did get into the position, and I thought Paul Heyman was doing an excellent job. And I guess my biggest thing is, after all these years of being a wrestling fan and how they've built WWE over the years, they have not built stars. For the longest time, I said they never really replaced Edge after Edge had at the time, his career-ending injury when he had the spinal stenosis and everything. Obviously, he's come back after having a new surgery and all that stuff. And, happy for Edge and all that stuff. But still, they don't know how to properly utilize and build up new talent to make them better. And Paul Heyman was doing a wonderful job with the talent. He was giving people opportunities that wouldn't normally get those opportunities. And the fact that Vince McMahon is using him as a scapegoat for the fact that Monday Night Raw's ratings had shit in the shorts, and now it's putting Bruce Pritchard in charge of both shows. He's going to be in charge of the creative team. Is going to be in charge of both shows. Just proves that Vince McMahon really just does not know what he's doing in coronavirus.
Yeah.
So that is why it's my brainless for this week.
All right.
So if you like what you've seen, whether you're a first-time viewer or somebody who has been a continuous fan of the podcast, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Periscope, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us on all those platforms. We will do the same back. It's always been our motto. Also, make sure you tune into the Wrestling Marks page, because that's where we go live for the podcast, and that is at facebook.com/WrestleMarks. And make sure you set up for notifications on there so that every time that we go live on our podcast, you get the notification that lets you know that we are going live.
Yeah.
I think I've touched all the bases on that stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's one more thing left to do.
Wait, are you saying that there's something else?
Yes, and I wish Tommy was actually tuning in right now for his favorite part of the podcast. Because everybody's watching this show. He knows, and I know, that today, on June 13th of 2020, at 1,773 days, F&M Marks Hall of Famer Curtis Axel is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. Yeah! So
right.
For episode 179 of the F&M Marks podcast,
I'm Jay.
and I am the brainless one. Make sure you mark out.
With Duke Walkout. See everyone.
Thanks for tuning in. See you all next week. Enjoy Backlash tomorrow. Naya, I hope you go blind.